Picture this. 1932. The vast, sun-scorched plains of Western Australia. The enemy. Not another nation, not rebels, but birds. 20,000 of them. And the Australian military, armed with machine guns, declared war. What followed was one of the most bizarre and hilarious conflicts in modern history. This is the story of the Great Emu War. To understand how a nation ended up fighting a war against its own national bird, we need to rewind a bit. After World War I, Australia rewarded its veterans with land to farm wheat. But this wasn't prime real estate. Much of it was marginal, difficult land out in Western Australia. Then, the Great Depression hit. Wheat prices plummeted, and a severe drought withered the crops. These farmers, heroes of the Great War, were now on the brink of ruin. They were desperate, and that's when the emus arrived. Every year, around 20,000 emus migrate inland after their breeding season. But this year, they found a paradise, acres and acres of cultivated farmland. For the emus, it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. For the farmers, it was the final straw. They watched as these giant, flightless birds trampled their fences and devoured what little crop they had left. Desperate, a delegation of these ex-soldiers went to the government for help. Their request was simple: we need machine guns. The Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce, a WWI veteran himself, saw an opportunity. It could be good target practice for his soldiers, and great PR to show the government was supporting the struggling veterans. The plan seemed foolproof. He dispatched Major GPW Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, along with 2 soldiers and 2 heavy Lewis machine guns, to deal with the emu invasion. How hard could it be? On November 2nd, the first engagement began. The soldiers spotted a flock of about 50 emus near the town of Campion. The heat was already blistering, easily topping 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The soldiers lugged their Lewis guns into position. These weren't light weapons. Each one weighed nearly 30 pounds, making them incredibly cumbersome to aim and reposition quickly. The order was given to open fire. The guns roared to life, spitting out bullets across the dusty landscape. But something was wrong. The emus, instead of panicking and bunching up, scattered in all directions, running in unpredictable patterns. The machine gunners, struggling to track the erratic targets in the shimmering heat, couldn't land a clean shot. Even when bullets did hit, they seemed to have little effect. The emu's feathers aren't like a normal bird's. They're dense, shaggy, almost like hair, forming a surprisingly effective natural armor. Bullets that would have been devastating to other animals were reportedly glancing off or getting tangled in the thick plumage. After firing hundreds of rounds, the military's official tally was maybe a dozen dead emus. The rest had vanished into the bush, completely unharmed. The soldiers were left standing in the oppressive heat, defeated and humiliated by an enemy they had completely underestimated. But just when the military thought they had the answer, they found one more piece of evidence that changed the entire blueprint of the case. They believed a new tactic was all they needed to turn the tide. A few days later, Major Meredith devised a new plan. He ordered one of the Lewis guns to be mounted on the back of a truck. The idea was to chase the emus down, getting close enough for the machine gun to be truly effective. What followed was pure chaos. The truck bounced violently over the rough, uneven terrain, making it impossible for the gunner to aim. He was tossed around like a doll, trying desperately to keep the heavy machine gun pointed at the fleeing birds. The emus, meanwhile, were effortlessly outpacing the vehicle. In one particularly embarrassing moment, an emu got tangled in the truck's steering, causing it to swerve and crash into a fence. The chase was a complete disaster. Not a single emu was hit. The emus weren't just winning. They were making the Australian military look like fools. So, how did this happen? How did a modern military fail so spectacularly? This is where the theories begin. Theory A is the official story. It was simply a pest control operation that went wrong. The government underestimated the emus' speed, resilience, and the difficult terrain. It was a logistical failure, not a military one. A simple case of a job being much harder than it looked. Theory B is the conspiracy. Was this ever really about the emus? Some suggest it was just a public relations stunt to appease the farmers, or perhaps a live-fire training exercise to test the Lewis guns in field conditions. In this version, the war was never meant to be won. It was political theater from the start. And then there's theory. See the bizarre one. The emus were just smarter. Major Meredith himself reported that the emus seemed to have organized leaders. He claimed each flock had a commander, a large black-plumed bird that would stand watch while the others fed, warning them of danger and coordinating their escape. He wrote that if they had a military, they would face an army of tanks. Was it possible the emus displayed an uncanny intelligence, a strategic awareness that was like a glitch in the natural order? What do you think? Was it incompetence, a conspiracy, or were the emus just tactical geniuses? Let me know your theory down in the comments. After just a few weeks of humiliating failure and mounting negative press, the operation was called off. The military officially withdrew. The Minister of Defense had to answer questions in Parliament about the fiasco, which was mocked in newspapers around the world. The emus had won. Though bounty hunting later proved more effective, the Great Emu War of 1932 remains a legendary chapter in history as strange. Hilarious reminder that sometimes nature has a way of fighting back in the most unexpected ways. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this weird piece of history, give this video a like and subscribe for more deep dives into strange events. And if you think a war against birds is weird, wait until you hear about the time a town declared war on squirrels. Click here to watch that next.